Shikues të nderuar, në kuadër të kësaj vizite në Hag, ku jemi në përcjellje për atë procesit e intervistimit të presidentit të vendit Hashim Thaqi ndaj pretendimeve të prokurorit të dhomave të specializuara, ne shfrytëzojmë rastin tani që të zhvillojmë një bisedë edhe me ish-shefin e OSBE-s në Kosovë dhe njëkohësisht ambasadorin Dan Everts. Ambassador, welcome and thank you for your time.
Mirëdita.
Atëherë, së fundi zyra prokurorit të specializuar ka bërë një njoftim të paprecedent në lidhje me propozim aktakuzën kundër presidentit Hashim Thaqi dhe zotit Kadri Veseli. Si e shihni ju këtë zhvillim?
Yeah, I was very surprised to see this abrupt action move by the special prosecutor, and that it has been very unusual, it's unprecedented, and it makes me a bit suspicious about the timing, why suddenly now they come out with an unconfirmed accusation. So this is not a proper procedure.
Atëherë, si e shihni rolin e presidentit Thaqi në procesin e lirisë, pavarësisë dhe shtetëndërtimit të vendit?
Well, this is a huge question because the liberation struggle goes back decades, if not centuries, and I've been following this. I've seen the earlier attempts for non-violent liberation, independence struggle, and under Rugova, obviously. That didn't work because Belgrade was in no position to offer any compromise, and hence there was this necessity of armed struggle. And President Thaqi was one of those who had a prominent role, obviously. So there is a long history that should be taken into account when we evaluate individuals and their role.
Ambasadora, janë duke tentuar Rusia dhe Serbia të rishkruajnë historinë e luftës së vitit 1998-1999.
Yeah, well, the war has been so recent that everyone is still trying to write his own version, and obviously Serbia and Russia are doing their bit. No doubt that the factual truth will come out. There have been many witnesses, including myself, but many others, and I do strongly believe that the correct version will prevail. And there's no question that we were talking about a justified struggle for freedom and independence. No one can deny that. And the way it came about was very much forced by the intransigence, the unwillingness to listen and to compromise on the side of the Serbs. So there's no question what history ultimately will tell.
Ju në faktisht dëshmitari njërës prej masakrave të tmerrshme ndaj popullatës civile për çka keni shkruar dhe në disa botime dhe kumtesa, janë parafërsisht 400 masakra të tilla. Pse mendoni se drejtësia ndërkombëtare po hesht dhe pse mendoni se është mobilizuar për ndjekjen e udhëheqësve të UÇK-s?
Yeah, this is a very painful issue. The massacres, the violence that has dominated this fight, this struggle, it goes way back, obviously. It goes back at least 100 years of violence between the Serbs and the Albanians. I have no doubt that the brunt of the violence was on the backs of the Albanians. They have been the greater victims. During the war and prior to the war, there has been horrendous violence against the Kosovo Albanians. We know that, the militias, we know the role of Arkan, we know how many people have died, have been tortured, there have been massive rapes before and during the war from the Serbian side. There's no denying that. On the other hand, there has also been revenge actions. We should acknowledge that also against the Kosovo Serbs, violence has been committed. There have been murders. I have been witnessing a massacre in Gradsko, we all know about it, but it's in no comparison. When you compare the violence of the Serbs against the Albanians, the Kosovo Albanians, and the revenge of the Kosovo Albanians against the Serbs, there's no equality. One should not make the mistake of making these morally equivalent. That would be very false. So there is this huge crime against the Kosovo Albanians, and in my view, the lesser crime in the form of individual revenge by the Kosovo Albanians against the Serbs. We should keep that very much in mind.
Si mik i madh i Kosovës, cila është këshilla juaj për kosovarët për tejkalimin e kësaj situate?
What I could suggest, there is only one way in the long run to create lasting peace and good relations, that we have to restart the dialogue. There has to be a dialogue between the Serbian people and the Kosovar people. It will be hard because there's so much of hardship and guilt, and so it will be very difficult to overcome the hatred, but it must happen if we have to have a lasting peaceful situation in the Balkans. It's crucial for the future of the whole Balkan area that Serbs and Albanians come together, which is possible. They have been living side by side in the far past. They have even fought together in early days. So it should be possible to get together, but it very much depends on leadership. So the leadership should reach out, and they should tell their people not to always see the other as the enemy, and not make the enemy collective. All the Serbs are bad, or all the Kosovo Albanians are bad. That is a wrong approach. You have to look at individual situations, and you have to overcome these differences. But I personally feel it should be possible, especially in a European context. And I hope that Europe itself, the European Union, will be actively promoting this reconciliation.
Edhe njerë, ambasador, a shihni një tendencë për manipulim apo rishkrim të historisë Kosovës ashtu siç është deklaruar sfundmi?
Well, as I said earlier, everyone tries to push his version or her version of history, and there is always a subjective element to describing the history. I myself have just written a book on this very issue, and I can see how difficult it is to stay objective. But I think with sufficient inputs from all sides, we will get the correct version of what has happened, and then we should focus on the future.
Ambassador, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Faleminderit.